All right, guys, this is Paul Singh, the Market Speculator with bullsonwallstreet.com. Today, we're going to talk about how to create the optimal swing trading chart setup. Now, everybody trades with some type of chart setup. If you're using technical analysis to make your trades, you can't not have a chart setup. So everybody's got one, a lot of different styles. But there are some basics that everybody should have. And one of those things is you want to keep it as simple as possible relating to the types of strategies that you are using. And the problem that most people have is they're not doing that. They just throw a bunch of things on because they've heard you're supposed to have Bollinger Bands or MACDs or all these other things on your charts. So we're going to go over my chart setup here. You can adjust it according to how you would want your chart set up. But there's some things that we all need. And let's talk about that here. I'm going to share my screen here. You can see here, pretty basic setup, nothing too flashy, but some really important things here that we're going to talk about. And instead of SPY, let me pull up Apple here. So first thing we're going to do is the chart pattern itself. That's this part of the chart setup. And you can see here, we want candlestick charts for technical analysis. I know some people will use bar charts and some other things. Most of us are using candles. So you want the green for up, red for down, or whatever your charting software is using. I'm using Worden TC2000. That's what everybody here at Bulls on Wall Street uses. So that's the candle pattern we're using. Now, there are a ton of different moving averages you can pay attention to. I've seen people with 7 or 8 different moving averages here. You don't need that. Put only the moving averages that you actually use for your trading. Now, the only 3 that I really use at this time, and it changes according to what's going on in the market, but for my aggressive trend indicator, I'm using the 9 exponential moving average. So you'll see that on all of my charts. Then you'll see the 50-day, which is an intermediate time frame, and then the 200. Now, I could throw the 20 in here. I could throw the 100 in here. Some people use the 8, and I've seen traders that have all of these things in there. And if you do that, it becomes information overload, and you freeze because your price action is always hitting something. And you don't want to be in that position where you're always having to wonder, is this support? Is that a support? So use the indicators of the moving averages that you're actually using in your trading. And for me, that's the 9. That's a very aggressive trend indicator, the 50 and the 200. So that's what I've got on my charts here. Very basic here. No Bollinger Bands, no volume by price action, nothing else. You should be able to interpret the price action on your own. So this is very clear here. I can see any of the chart patterns that are forming here very clearly. And I can see how they're relating to the moving averages. And right now, looking at Apple here, I know on a very short, aggressive time frame here, a little weakness here, although it's had a nice run, breaking below the 9. That's a signal that I need to be aware of. Now I want to see the test of the 50-day. That's a signal I'm going to pay attention to, and that's it right now. So I don't need a bunch of other stuff. So that's what's on the upper portion of my chart where price action is. Below that, I've got volume. You can see here, I've got the volume and I've got a 30-day average volume indicator here. And that's basically, so when something breaks out, I can easily assess if I'm getting 1.5 to 3 times average volume, which I use for some of my setups. So that's a very easy way to assess that. The other thing that I usually have on my charts, or I used to, is stochastics. And now I still do at times for some of my setups. I'll switch over to a different chart setup in a second so you can see that. Stochastics, there's an overbought, oversold indicator that I sometimes have below my volume. But if you're an experienced trader, you don't even need that. You can tell as you're watching the stock whether it's overbought or oversold. I can tell right now looking at Apple that it's overbought and rolling over. I don't need stochastics to tell me that. So, but if you want them, I'll show you that in a second. So that's all I've got on the actual pattern assessment portion of my chart here. Now take a look at this area right in here. There are some key things that I want on my chart so I don't have to go look it up and waste time. I can just look at the chart real quick if something comes up on my scan, and I can see very quickly what the numbers are. So what I've got here is float, short interest ratio, and volatility. So I want to know the float size. I generally am trading low float stocks. That's under 100 million, and we can see here Apple is 5 billion. So I still will trade Apple because it is kind of volatile here, but generally I'm focused on lower float, and that will give me those numbers right away. The other is short interest. You want to know how much short interest there is in a stock, especially for short squeezes. Sometimes you get these big squeezes, so you can predict those in advance of a breakout if you know how much short interest there is. That's this number here. It's really low on Apple here at 1. I usually like that number over 4 or even number 10, over 10. And then finally, volatility here. This is a volatility number that's in TC 2000. I generally like this number to be above 30 or 40. And for some of the extreme cases, you get numbers over 100. So let's actually pull up a stock breaking out today, Coop, which I actually day traded today, but it's on my breakout watch list now. I can see very quickly, here's the line here, way more than 2 times average volume, huge volume spike. I can see very quickly I've got the breakout here over the 50-day and the 9. Those are the key levels I want to see, and I can quickly assess where it is in relation to the price action. That's all I need on the chart here. Now, right away, I don't have to look it up. I can see right away it's a 30 million float, so it's a low float I like. Got a lot of short interest here at 10. I was talking about I really like that number, so I know there could be a short squeeze here, and it is volatile at 44. So these are some numbers I want to look at here. Now, I want to know very quickly, especially a stock I'm not familiar with like Coop, what industry is it from? So I have that right here, software infrastructure. So I know from my sector analysis what sectors are in play, and then I can say, okay, this is in a sector that I've been paying attention to. Now I'm even going to be more interested in it. And then we've got the name here. That's not too important, the full name. But here we've got the intraday price action, which can be important, especially if you're going to day trade it also. So I know the intraday high is 28.99. I know the intraday low is 26, and I know it's currently at 26. 46 here, it's saying 27 there. But these are the, actually 46 right here. So these are the numbers in here that give me that. And then obviously the percentage gain. I always pay attention on breakouts if they're 5% or higher. So I have the percentage gain. So these are the numbers I want listed in here. Okay, so we've taken a look at the stock itself, the chart pattern, the specific numbers I want, so I don't have to go look it up, the average volume here. Now on the side here, I always want to know what the market is doing during the day when I'm placing my trade. So again, so I don't have to flip through. I can quickly see here, and I can pull this out this way and get a trend analysis, or I can look closer and see today the key level, 50-day moving average. SPY is actually looking like it might close under the 50, which is going to be a key level here. And I can also look at the Qs and IWM, and I like to see how these are relating to each other, and that's for a different lesson or a different video here. And then I always put another sector that might be in play. Right now I'm watching biotech, and I can always flip that out very easily by switching the ticker here. Let's take a look at semiconductors, and I can see that that's also breaking the 50-day just like the market is. Maybe we go short today, semiconductors. And then I usually have the 5-minute in here. Now I'm not doing much day trading off of this swing trading setup. So I've got day trading charts in here that I'm watching, but sometimes for my intraday, for my swing trades, I still want to see not necessarily specific patterns, but where it is in relation to its intraday movement. So I've got the 5-minute chart here, and if I wanted to go to something else, I can quickly go to the hourly here and look at the last few days of movement in there. So these are the different kind of mini charts here and markets indexes I'm looking at. Now I'll always have a watch list here, and I could quickly flip through a bunch of my different watch lists in here. This is kind of the main watch list right now. If I want to see something else I've been watching, maybe breakouts from the third quarter, I can quickly pull that up in here. Now finally, I have my industry indexes here, which I can pull up if I want to do a full analysis, but really quickly here, I can sort these and see what's been moving today. So steel is beaten down today. The #1 moving sector is footwear. So maybe I want to go in and analyze footwear, and I can quickly do that and pull up the stocks within that sector and see if it's something I need to pay attention to. And if I pull this out further, I can sort by the 30 and 5 and 90 days also, which is more of my sector analysis, not something I'd be doing for intraday action. And then when I'm done with this, I can pull this right back down. So real quickly, let me switch over here. Another chart setup I have where it's very similar. This one, I have more watch lists if I don't care about the market indexes. And I just want to have a bunch of different watch lists thrown in here. A lot of times I'll have my current positions on the side here with a watch list and maybe some other watch lists I can quickly change out of. But here on this one, I also have the stochastics, and this is the only indicator I use. All of the other indicators are basically telling me the same thing I can see with my eyes. So that's it. This is a basic chart setup, but there is, as you can see here, a ton of information just on this simple chart setup that I'm using here. So don't overload it. You don't need to throw on a bunch of things because you've seen other people doing it. Keep it basic to the things you're paying attention to. Now, if you have strategies where you use Bollinger Bands, then go ahead and throw those on. But if you've got a bunch of stuff in there that really is just going to mix up what you're watching, take those off and really pinpoint what you're looking for. All right, guys. So we've gone over chart setups here. Now, later this week, we'll go over some stocks that we're looking to trade. So I'll see you then.